Hi children, shall we study English? We are learning the lesson, the ashes that made trees bloom. And we had seen up to the death of the dog. The old couples killed the dog and they buried the carcass of the dog under the soil near a pine tree. Let's see what happened after that. The owner of the dog heard of the death of his pet and mourning for him as if he had been his own child, went at night under the pine tree. So later on, the good old man heard about the death of the dog. He mourned, M-O-U-R-N-E-D. Mourned means he cried on behalf of the death of his pet dog. And he went at night under the pine tree. That night itself he went under the pine tree, and what did he do? He set up some bamboo tubes in the ground, such as are used before tombs, in which he put fresh flowers. And normally when humans are buried under the soil, they will be making tombs. And in front of the tombs, they will be keeping bamboo tubes, and on the bamboo tubes, they will be keeping flowers. Just like that, the old man had put bamboo tubes in front of the buried area of the dog, and he kept flowers over it. Then he laid a cup of water and a tray of food on the grave and burned several costly sticks of incense. After that, what did he do? He laid a cup of water and a tray of food on the grave and burned several costly incense sticks. Incense sticks means sandal sticks. He burned sandal sticks. He mourned a great while over his pet, calling him many dear names as if he were alive. So normally when a dear and dear will be dying, what will we do? We will be calling several pet names. Oh my dear son, oh my loved one, just like that we will be calling several pet names. This old man also was mourning, was crying, just like calling many dear names. That night, the spirit of the dog appeared to him in a dream and said, "Cut down the pine tree over my grave and make from it a mortar for your rice pastry and mill for your bean sauce." So that night, after he had burned incense sticks and kept a cup of water and tray of food, he went back to his home. And at night, what happened, you know? At night, in the dream, this dog appeared and said to the old man, "Cut down the pine tree over the grave of the dog and make from it a mortar." What is a mortar, you know? A mortar is a bowl for crushing something, and a mortar for your rice pastry and a mill for your bean sauce. So rice pastry, normally rice pastry will be eating along with the bean sauce. So he has asked him to make a mortar and a mill. A mortar for making rice pastry and a mill for making bean sauce. So let's see what did the old man do after that. So the old man chopped down the tree and cut out of the middle of the trunk a section about 2 feet long. So next day this man went to the grave and chopped down. Chopped down means he cut down the tree and cut out of the middle of the trunk. That means middle of the trunk, you know, in the center of the almost middle of the trunk, a section about 2 feet long. A 2 feet long piece has cut from the tree. With great labor, partly by fire, partly by the chisel, he scraped out a hollow place as big as a small bowl. So he made a small bowl out of the wood. How? With great labor, that means with great effort, partly by fire, burning, and partly by the chisel. Chisel. Chisel is a tool to sharpen wood. Wooden articles will be made out of this tool that is known as chisel. So with this chisel and by burning, he had made a small bowl. So this can be used as the mortar. He then made a long handled hammer of wood such as is used for pounding rice. So after making this mortar, we need a hammer, a long handled hammer to pound the rice. So after making this bowl, he had made a long handled hammer of wood such as is used for pounding rice. When New Year's time drew near, he wished to make some rice pastry. So the old man is very fond of eating rice pastry. So he thought, since it is the time of New Year, he wants to make some rice pastry. When the rice was all boiled, Granny put it into the mortar. Granny means the old lady. The old lady, when the rice was boiled, put all the rice into the mortar. The old man lifted his hammer to pound the mass into dough, and blows fell heavy and fast till the pastry was all ready for baking. So this man, the old lady was putting the boiled rice into the mortar, while this old man was pounding the rice with the hammer, long handled hammer, and the blows were very heavy. That means that much heavily he was pounding the rice to make the rice into a mass, and fast till the pastry was all ready for baking. Suddenly, the whole mass turned into a heap of gold coins. So what happened soon? When the old man was pounding the boiled rice into the mortar was ready for, the pastry was ready for baking. By the time the full pastry turned into gold coins. When the old woman took the hand mill and filling it with beans began to grind, the gold dropped like rain. So into the mill, the old lady had put beans, and these beans, while it was producing the sauce dripped like, the drops of the sauce dripped like, again gold dropped like the rain. Just like gold rain, the bean sauce was falling just like drops of gold.